So, moving to the next topic, which is helpful in comparison. So, measuring of the variability are helpful in comparing between two or more series. A large degree of dispersion means lack of uniformity, consistency, and homogeneity. So, measuring of the variability is helpful in comparing between the two or more series. A large degree of dispersion measure lack of uniformity, consistency, and homogeneity. So, um, if you are comparing two or more series, so measuring the variability is a very important thing. So it is happen when you are taking two or more series, so large degree of dispersion should be there, and it means that lack of uniformity. If you are taking a if you are taking an example of continuous series or discrete series, and there are so many kind of series, so where you are calculating the measures of the variability are useful, are helpful in comparing between the two or more series. A large degree of dispersion means lack of uniformity. If the dispersion is very high in the city, as I have taken the example which I have already taken, so to get the better understanding, so if in a city there is a there are some people who is earning only 80,000, or not only, obviously it is a pretty high, but 80,000 to, and some of the people who are very poor, they are earning only 200, and there are some people who are earning even more than 2 lakh, 5 lakh, or something like that. So the division, the variability, if the variability is very high, the measure of dispersion is very high, so what would be the, so the measure of the dispersion is really needed. If you are taking the average, so does it work? It will not work. So measure of variability are helpful in comparing between the two or more series. A large degree of dispersion means lack of uniformity, consistency, and homogeneity. Then the last one is further statistical analysis. Measure of dispersion is very useful in the calculations of higher statistical measures such as skewness, correlation, and regression. So we will further study. There are so many concepts in the measures of the dispersion. There are so many concepts like some concept of the range, coefficient, and standard deviation and variation is a very important thing which will be repeat, and a part of the correlations, regressions, skewness. So even in the formulas, the standard deviation is taken as a coefficient and the relative value. So measure of the dispersion is useful in the calculation of the higher statistical measures such as skewness, correlation, and regression. Okay. Properties of a good measure of dispersion. So as we have studied in the first order of measurement also, where this similar topic is like that, the properties of a good average. So and before starting we also study the objective of the average. So similarly, first we study like what is measure of dispersion, who what types of opinion given by the economics, and there's some concept and what is this called. Then we will move to the objective of the dispersion. So if we are studying it, so first we will study that even in the if you are taking a statistic, or data, statistical data. So first there should be a pre-motive of that. So what is the objective of the dispersion, why it is used, so what is the motive of the dispersion? So first we studied that. Then we have already taken the dispersion, but what qualities make them a good measure of the dispersion? How we already calculate the dispersion. Now how we will get to know that this dispersion is the good measure? So properties of the good dispersion is simplicity, based on all observation, unaffected by simplicity, fluctuations. Then we have rigidly defined, capable for the further statistical analysis. Simplicity. A good measurement of dispersion should be easy to understand and simple to calculate. So first it is very obvious that if simple things are there, complex formulas or complex process should be avoided, then it is very useful and accuracy will be high. So simplicity should be there. So a good measure of this person should be easy to understand and simple to calculate. Then the second one is based on all the observation. A good measure of dispersion should be based on all the observations of the series, also that it is truly representative. So even in the standard deviations we have studied that it is based on all the observation. Not we have studied, but we will study further. But there are so many measures of the dispersion which is not focusing the all observation. Even we have studied in the central tendency, where the arithmetic mean is considering all the observation, not only arithmetic mean, geometric harmony, and all the three mean, but median and mode are failed to do it. They are focusing either in the middle of the observations, or the observations which have highest frequency, whatsoever their formulas according to that, but they are not calculating the whole observation. So what we need to do is the measuring the dispersion, there should be a consideration of all the observations. So based on all the observation, a good measures of dispersion should be based on all the observations of the series, so that it is truly representative, unaffected by sampling fluctuations. A good measures of dispersion should be at least affected by fluctuations of sampling, so that we have an overall consistent summary of the measurement of dispersion. So unaffected by sampling fluctuations. So if any error or anything happens, so like a good measure of dispersion should be at least affected by the fluctuation of sampling, so that we have an overall consistent summary of the measure of dispersion. If anything happen while taking the sampling, any error happen, and the fluctuation is very low. Even in the sampling error we have studied so many kind of error, like some are errors which caused due to the unforeseen. So if any error caused by any reasons, but the fluctuation is happened, but it is least affected by the measure of dispersion, so it would be the good measure of dispersion. Then rigidly defined. So a good measure of dispersion should be rigidly defined, so that its value is always definite. There are so many formulas, and here they are explaining, it is explaining that there should be a good structured formulas, where we will put the value, and even there, if there are so many methods, the answer would be the same. So it should be a rigidity defined. No matter what formulas you are using, the answer should be consistent. then capable of further statistical analysis. A good measure of dispersion should be capable of being used in further statistical analysis. As you can take example of standard deviations, it is helpful in further analysis. So a good dispersion should be that it is not centering to present value. It will helpful in calculating the further statistical analysis to make the calculations and to understand those topics easily. So yeah, then measurement of dispersion. So how many types of measurement? So measurement can be calculated in three ways. Measurement from spread of values, there is range, quartile deviations, measurement from the average, mean deviations, MD or MD, and then standard deviations, ST, and here we will start the range. Okay, so here this is MD, delta, and standard deviation, sigma. So these are the two divisions of the measure of dispersion. So basically measure of dispersion can be calculated by two ways. Okay, so first is the spread of value. We are directly calculating by the spread of values, like we are calculating from 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, or any number, whether it is individual or discrete like 32 to 25. So here we will directly calculate by the observation. So this is done by two kind of measure of dispersion, range and quartile deviations. Okay, but in the dispersion of the average, like mean deviations, MD, and the standard deviations, SD. So here we will take first the average. We will calculate the average through the mean, median, or mode. So obviously mode have very complicated and they don't have the rigid formula. So we calculate mean and median, and by mean and median we have a relation, which is mode is equal to 3 times median minus 2 times mean. So we calculate by this only. So this is called delta and this is called sigma. Okay, so we will further study the mean deviations and then the standard deviation. As the standard deviation is one of the important topic, especially in the measure of dispersion, and if you have studied this topic very carefully, so it will repeat after a time. So it is involved in so many formulas. So trust me, you need to be understandable by this formula, and it is pretty tough also. Not that tough, but calculation is involved, and yeah, so this is the thing. Dispersion from the spread of values. So we will complete the range in the next topic. So till then, stay tuned and do like and share my videos. If you like, then share with your friends so that it will be helpful to them also. So till then, take care and have a nice day.